In 6th century Italy, a fierce Lombard warrior named Drochtulft breached the walls of a Roman city he came to destroy, but instead of sacking it, he suddenly turned on his own people. He abandoned his tribe, fought for the Romans, and died defending the very city he had just attacked. On the Argentine frontier in 1872, an English woman was discovered in the wilderness, having been captured by indigenous tribes as a child. When offered a safe return to European society, she refused. She chose to remain in the desert, embracing the brutal life she had adopted. These two events are separated by 1,300 years and the width of the Atlantic Ocean, an immense historical and geographical gulf that makes any connection between them seem impossible. These figures appear to be perfect opposites. One is a barbarian running toward the height of Roman order, and the other is a civilized European woman running toward primal savagery. Yet, despite moving in totally opposite cultural directions, both of these individuals were swept up by the exact same inexplicable psychological mechanism. Drochtulft emerged from the inextricable forests of northern Europe. He was a man of strict tribal loyalty, raised on constant warfare and the worship of crude wooden gods wrapped in homespun cloth and hung with coins. That life defined his entire reality, until the wars brought him south to the siege of Ravenna. There he saw a Roman city for the first time. He witnessed cypresses, marble amphitheaters, and regular open plazas. The city appeared to him as a living organism, a complex mechanism of statues, temples, and gardens. Even without grasping its purpose, he recognized the imprint of an immortal intelligence in its design. This revelation blinded him to his past. He knew he would never truly understand this place, but he also recognized it as worth more than his wooden gods and his sworn oaths. He abandoned his tribe and died fighting for an empire he barely comprehended. Drochtulft was a genuine convert. He surrendered completely to the revelation of a superior design, finding a new faith in the very architecture of his former enemies. Now consider the English grandmother, stationed at a remote military outpost in 1872. She lived in a state of profound isolation, clinging to the memory of the manicured, strictly divided plots of land in her highly structured British homeland. At this outpost, she met a woman with blonde hair and gray eyes who wore indigenous blankets and went barefoot. This captive had lived for 15 years among the tribes, adopting their horsehide shelters, their diet of raw meat, and their linguistic rhythms. Moved by pity, the grandmother urged the woman to return to civilization, swearing to retrieve her children and protect her. The captive answered simply that she was happy and returned to the desert that same night. Later, the two women crossed paths one last time on a ranch. As a man was slaughtering an animal, the Indian woman threw herself to the ground and drank the warm blood right there in the dirt. To the grandmother, this woman was a monstrous mirror. The English captive had been entirely overwritten by the raw, primal power of the wilderness, leaving the rigid structures of her upbringing behind. Stripping away the history of Rome and the Pampas, their specific destinations become irrelevant. Both were driven by an overwhelming encounter with an alien reality, a revelation that bypasses human reason, triggering a total surrender of identity. Their actions exist outside of calculated strategy or political treachery. Each was moved by a singular impulse that demanded a complete break from their past lives. The Argentine writer Jorge Luis Borges recognized this connection. He salvaged these two fragments of history, one from a medieval Latin text, one from his own family's memory, to demonstrate this universal human vulnerability to revelation. We often view our identity as an inheritance, but these lives suggest it is forged in the moment of profound surrender. The barbarian and the captive are ultimately the exact same story, stamped on opposite sides of the same coin.